Hey everyone, it's Richard Metalfan here, bringing you guys a brand new 2020 album review, and today we're going to be looking into the new album from the band Warbringer, entitled Weapons of Tomorrow, which was released through Napalm Records. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar with Warbringer, they're a thrash metal band from California that formed in 2004. I discovered Warbringer about, I think it was like 6 or 7 years ago through I don't know, I just saw somebody talking about it, and I just went and checked them out, and I went and checked out all their other stuff, and I basically fell in love with them. And I feel like Warbringer, in my opinion, is one of the best sort of like newer like thrash metal bands, along with like Havoc and Toxic Holocaust, Municipal Waste. They just are really great. These, like I said, these guys have been around since 2004, and they've been putting out their albums since their first album, War Without End, which came out in 2008, which I thought was a pretty good album. But I just feel like all their albums are good, going from that, Waking into Nightmares, Worlds Torn Asunder, For Empires Collapse, and that was around the time when I first got into the band. And then their last album, Woe to the Vanquished, I thought was a really good album. But here we are with album number 6 being Weapons of Tomorrow. Does this live up or exceed what Woe to the Vanquished has? In my honest opinion, I think it definitely has. I feel like Warbringer can do no wrong. Like, everything these guys have done is just spot on. Let's just talk about like the vocals from John Kebbels. Well, his vocal style is just insane. He does like that kind of like the typical thrashiness, but also has more kind of like almost kind of like guttural in his voice. I don't know. It's hard to describe it. I think he's pretty much progressed on his vocals. The guitar work on this album is pretty tight. Chase Becker and Adam Carroll's guitar playing is tight. Just like Adam's riffing is just spot on, and just the lead and soloing that Chase does is great. The bass, I think, is pretty audible. Chase, first album with a new bass player, Chase Bryant, and he does a really great job on the drumming and on that bass. I can't even speak today. And drumming wise, we'll talk about Carlos Cruz, who's his drumming is just, I don't know, he's just like all over the place. So yeah, without further ado, let's dive into this album track by track. Now, starting things off is Firepower Kills, which starts the album off with a blast of just thrash that channels sort of like early era, kind of like something from like Exodus or Testament. This is one of the most straightforward, like in your face tracks on the album. It sets sort of like the tone perfectly for the rest is to come. And there's some great lyrics here too. Is like, I especially like sort of like the closing line is like, in a burning flash of white, the future looks so bright. It just can't get more metal than that. Great way to start off this album. Starting off with a bang, in my opinion, is a great way to start off this album. And then next song on here is The Black Hand That Reaches Out, which is bound to be sort of like a fan favorite. It's just, I'm not even surprised if they chose it for a music video. And John Kebbell gets to flex his impressive vocal range here, switching between sort of like guttural, sort of like death metal-ish vocals and sort of like rapid fire refrains. And the star of the show is undoubtedly the guitars, and the solo in the second half of the song is just fucking amazing. So yeah. Next song on the album is called Crushed Beneath the Tracks, and I feel like this song here, it doesn't really quite match up to like the first two songs. It's a solid piece of thrash, but it doesn't like do anything to stand out, but that's just me. Then I feel like they pretty much redeem itself, fortunately, with the next song being Defiance of Fate. And I feel like the attention is back mainly because it's unexpected, and it's sort of like, imagine if like Pantera made like a power or metal, black metal-ish ballad, but you wouldn't be far off. It's strange, it's different, but for some reason it works. Then we go into Unraveling, which ramps up the energy, really energetic track. Then we go into Heart of Darkness, which brings us to sort of like the edge of like black metal territory once more. Having sort of like the bass actually audible in the mix, it was a smart move, as Chase Bryant's just like sinister pulsing bass line underpins the song, and sort of like drives up the momentum here. Great song. Anyway, next song is Power Unsurpassed, which has been out for a while as sort of like the first single from the album, but it sounds all better now due to sort of like a more punchier mixed, at least from what I first heard it from on YouTube. Then we go into Our Outer Reaches, which is the second song that I just feel like doesn't match the quality of the rest of the album, similar to Crush Beneath the Tracks. It spends for a little bit too long, sort of like meandering throughout the generic chugging, and I find myself kind of like skipping it after a few listens. And then we get to the final two songs on the album, being Notre Dame, King of Fools, and Glory Sends, which fortunately sort of like closed up the album with more style. and sort of like the very dynamics in Notre Dame is very just fantastic, and it's up there with one of my favorite Warbringer tracks. And Glorious End, the final song from the album, is a little longer, but rather than sort of like overstaying its welcome, it sounds like a culmination of the entire album into one song. Sort of like drawing the sort of like various styles into one just powerful sonic blast. A glorious end indeed, and I happily take the whole album of these sort of like longer, slightly more kind of progressive songs. Great way to end this album. Now, overall, Weapons of Tomorrow by Warbringer is a pretty damn good album. So if I were to give this album a score, I'm going to give the album an 8.5 out of 10. So yeah, that's my review of the new Warbringer album, guys. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about it, and I'll see you all in the next video. And as always, keep it metal.